Hi, I'm Katie from What Katie Did, and welcome back. Today, I'm going to be talking a little bit about body shape and what's actually got me into vintage fashion in the first place. When I was growing up in the late 80s and 90s, I wasn't 100% vintage style. I used to buy what I could off the high street, and at that point in time, I could still find outfits I liked on the high street. A lot of things didn't fit, but I could just about scrape by and buying just off the peg items from normal fashion shops. This kind of all changed in the mid-90s, and I blame everything on Alexander McQueen. I hated him for a long time. He was the one who introduced the bumster jeans in the mid-1990s, and these were cut so low they actually showed the top of your bum crack, and it spawned a whole fashion for low-rise trousers, and for a woman with curves and hips, this just totally killed fashion for me throughout the 90s and the early 200s, because I swear you couldn't get a pair of trousers made to fit a woman with any kind of curves at all. It was everything was very low rise right up until the end of the 2000s. So it was not great at all, and that's really what forced me into wearing vintage or vintage inspired full time, because I couldn't find anything on the high street that fitted, and I took it all out on Alexander McQueen, which is a real shame, because I didn't really understand the beauty and genius of his work until he passed away. The other thing I found disturbing about Alexander McQueen was the way he presented women, and I was like, why would you dress women like this? Why would you put them in all these headpieces and really make them look really scary and unattractive? And when Alexander McQueen first started out, it was before the day of the internet, and we were really just finding out from the press and from magazines. So we were getting a very blinkered view as to what he was trying to do with his work. And it turns out, reading through the pages since he passed away, and since there's been more biographies about him, there was a lot of abuse in his family with the women, and also with Alexander McQueen, and he saw fashion as a way of protecting them in a way that he couldn't protect the women in his family he was close to, and which is really sad and puts a whole twist on the way he was presenting his work. He said, "I want people to be afraid of the women I dress," which is a great line. He wanted women to look strong and be able to look after themselves and to feel protected. And that just puts a total spin on what I thought in previous years, where obviously the way he dressed women, he hated them, and what was going on here is he actually wanted them to look amazingly strong, and his aim was to create a woman who looks so fabulous you wouldn't dare lay a hand on her. So that is great looking back on it, but unfortunately it didn't do me very much good in the 90s, because the fashion wasn't at all suitable for women with curves. And although he did actually make kind of 50s inspired dresses with nipped-in waists and full skirts and more conventionally wearable vintage inspired things, he was mostly well known for his very sharp tailoring, his very low rise trousers, which for a vintage shaped girl was not great at all. So although I love and admire his work now, and he was an amazing person, and his designs just had so much beauty and depth to them, unfortunately, for me growing up in the 90s, he made fashion dead to me for a whole decade. He did basically start the trend for low-rise trousers, which I know caused me so much stress in the 90s, and reading your comments on Facebook and Instagram, it caused you a lot of distress too. I mean, on the good side of it, it did push me through to full-on vintage, and if that hadn't happened, I don't know, maybe what Katie did wouldn't have happened either. So I guess we have him to thank for that in the way. But I can remember getting dressed in the 1990s and finding things to wear. It was, and feeling different because nothing fitted it. It was so tricky, and I know you guys feel the same because you've commented about the 90s on Facebook and Instagram too. So we were all in the same boat in the 90s, and I'm glad it just wasn't me. I'm not glad that you suffered as well, but I'm glad it just wasn't me who was feeling not great about fashion at all at that time. Having said that, maybe if I had have felt great, then I wouldn't have been pushed into wearing vintage full time, and what Katie did wouldn't have happened. So maybe there is some good at the end of the story. If you do have any questions about what Katie did or fashion in general, please get back to me, and I'll catch up with you soon. So take care.